Everybody loves a good boss fight, and usually there's one or more components that will stick with you long after you've beaten it. Either the music gets stuck in your head from fighting it on repeat, the physical design being badass or intimidating, or maybe the fight itself was just crazy hard and it took you forever to clear, scarring you forever and evoking immense dread whenever someone mentions it again in the future. Do not even get me started on Demon Princess from Dark Souls 3, man. You probably have a boss that's already coming to mind right now, hearing me say that. We all have an example that comes to mind. But you see, today is the 10-year anniversary of a little 3DS RPG called Bravely Second. Yeah, I've done a few videos on it, and to celebrate, I want to talk about a group of enemies that I would consider some of the most creative, extraordinary boss monsters ever committed to a video game. Even if you're not familiar with this game in the slightest, I think you'll appreciate these terrifying monstrosities, and today I'm going to go over everything about Bravely Second's coolest enemies, the baals. It's Bravely Second's 10th anniversary. Still cannot believe it's actually been a full decade since this game came out. Wow. I remember this being the first game I ever pre-ordered, just to make sure I could get the collector's edition at the time. Used some money I'd won from a stop-motion contest. And that's not just some random tangent. To start our little discussion on the baals, we need to turn to the Bravely Second artbook, which I have a copy of. This book contains some background info on how the baals were made, which is by far the most incredible aspect about them. Unlike most designs where the artists just have a concept, sketch it out, and then make it for the game, Team Asano went one step further and actually created most of the baals as physical models. Like in real life, yeah. It's super cool that the artists were encouraged to get creative and try to make the monsters from real world stuff, crafting these strange collage creatures that would become the basis for the monsters to come. The different materials they went with, and the off-the-wall coloring, it's something I've never heard of before or since. And if you were lucky, you might have been able to see a few of these models yourself, as they were on display in Square Enix's Artnia Cafe sometime in 2015. Also want to mention, these things must have been freaking huge. Look at this different angle on the Turtle Dove model. There's a person sitting next to it. Look at the size! These were not 8.5 by 11 little school projects. These things were big. So, we've gone into the cool facts behind their collective creation. Now I want to go over their lore and look at each one individually, which means incoming spoilers for Bravely Second. You've been forewarned. So, first let's quickly go over what these things actually are. The baals, referred to as Demon Kings in Japan, are a group of powerful monsters that have been coming from beyond the Starfrost for hundreds of years, it seems, and their existence has been kept a secret for the most part from the people of Luxembourg. This is because the people of Fort Lune, a base of French people on the moon, and the hidden village of Sagitta on the planet work to ensure that the baals are destroyed before they can ever cause any real trouble. This was all thrown into chaos when one specific baal arrived and devastated Fort Lune, before crashing down to the planet and becoming encased within a diamond by Sage Juliana, who gave his life in the process. After that, baals began slipping through the crumbling defenses of Fort Lune, and it's up to Magnolia Arch, a baal buster, to head down and take them out. And yes, that is her real title for people who haven't played the game. What is later revealed is that these creatures are being made by a false god named Providence, who crafts the baals after the memories of a celestial being named Vega. Her suffering feeds Providence, so he continues to use the memories of her long-lost beloved as source material to make the baals, then sends them to her lover's planet, which makes her despair further, and the loop of sustaining Providence's power continues thusly. The balls you fought in-game were first introduced in the For the Sequel re-release of Bravely Default, as optional boss fights in Norende. They were a teaser for the next game, before being added into Bravely Second. You don't fight every ball in the main story, which was a bit of a shame, but a few of them are mandatory battles. The rest can be found and fought in the Fort Loon Town Reconstruction minigame, or at the end of Chapter 4 during the End Layer sequence, where every normal monster encounter has now been turned into a boss fight against a ball. Terrifying. There are 8 balls in total, 6 of them are numbered and 2 are not. They get stronger as you get closer to 1, so we'll start from the bottom and proceed from there. First up is Ball the 6th, Snowcap. This ball was based on the concept of a winter's holiday gone wrong, and plays on ice skating and skiing motifs. This is the boss I particularly remember most often being sent to my 3DS hacked, as in its stats being modified so the boss was near impossible to kill, if not completely impossible, and its attack set to max so it would one-shot party members. Oh, before I forget, the backgrounds for each ball fight, as well as the rooms in the final dungeon of the game, each reflect one of Vega's memories and are explained to the party. For this one, Altair explains that it's the memory of how he first met Vega, when they got stuck on a ski lift together. Snowcap was actually designed by a Czech anime artist, one Nobert Drziak. I probably butchered the pronunciation on that, sorry. Moving on to Ball the 5th, we have Urchin. This strange scuttlebug appears as the first of the 3 mandatory ball fights in the game, and has an annoying little mechanic of using Sunny Day to create a shadow jutsu of one of your party members that then attacks the party if you have that character act in any way. This one was created by the art lead for BD1, Satoshi Matsuura, and was given direction to use the theme of umbrellas. The blue lines were added to represent isobars from weather maps, so it gives Urchin more of a weather theme overall. This is related, of course, to the next memory in Altair and Vega's relationship, where they met each other again in a rainstorm after Altair ran from his laboratory, frustrated with his higher-ups reassigning him to a new post out of jealousy. Luckily, though, he was moved to Vega's lab, so a win all around. Honestly, and I don't say this to be cruel, but this is the ball I tend to forget the most. Still really cool though, love how the color changes on the spikes. Next up, Ball the 4th, Goldie. Created by Sebastian Matsuda, the aim here was to make something that partially blends into the background while still being noticeable and off-putting. This thing likes to eat its own allies, constantly regenerate HP, and do big damage or confusion effects. For Masuda, his approach was to create the background first, then the model, and then to go from there. The memory this ball is associated with involves Altair asking Vega out at a summer festival where they were catching goldfish together. This next one on the list is actually tied for my favorite of all the balls, and I don't hear a lot of people talk about it. But that's probably because it involves one of my favorite hyperfixations, Ball the 3rd, Apparetti. I'm sad that there doesn't seem to be a physical model for this one, but that doesn't mean Apparetti has no basis in real life. This ball is themed around chemistry, where it's got vials and Bunsen burners and tubes going on. I adore the flickering chemical formulas that make up its main body, and its mechanics focus around using attacks of one elemental type that weakens the party to another as it rotates through the attacks. You know, changing states and stuff. This memory is of Altair and Vega's work life as scientists researching space-time. Red Shirt is our ball number 2, and this one is probably the strangest of the whole set. It's a weird little twig monster that emulates a Santa Claus look, with a beard and horrific gaping maw made from dripping candle wax and a whip of decorative lights. The whole thing is very Christmas themed. This one was also done by Drziak, and even Tomoya Asano noted in the art book that making something like this would not come naturally to a Japanese artist, so that international perspective really seemed to help. This ball preys on gluttony, punishing the player for healing too much and dispelling stat boosts. And of course, the memory is from a Christmas dinner where Altair proposed to Vega, despite his lack of a ring due to not having enough money, but she still happily accepted it. This takes us to the ball most people are probably familiar with, thanks to omegaevolution's infamous video referring to it as Mega Ultra Waifu Chicken. This is Turtle Dove, Ball the First, but it is certainly not the last. Clearly referring to the wedding between Altair and Vega, this monstrosity inflicts an incredibly tricky to deal with effect called Love, which is like uber confusion where the afflicted will copy every move their beloved does, and damage is equally applied to both of them. It's incredibly annoying, but still so cool. Masuda was the one responsible for this beautiful, terrifying creation, and it is one of the biggest models that was made. He even used pieces of a wedding dress for the fluff on the wings. Overall, a great corruption of the concept of love and marriage. But now, we've reached the big one. The final boss of the balls, the mightiest of them all, and the other pick for my favorite design. This is Diamante. A skeleton of a woman covered in ribbons and jewels being thrown about on a horse made of reflective diamonds. This ball is so special that it even gets its own unique theme. And it is certainly one hell of a fight. The music is perfectly fitting for the insanity that ensues, as Diamante partially regenerates every turn and reflects all damage back at your party until you shatter the horse with enough attacks. And even then, even if you do enough damage, the bastard horse gets back up. You can't win this fight. Like, you literally just do enough damage and the fight ends. The only way the heroes manage to deal with it is by having one person sacrifice himself to take Diamante with him to the literal end of time, where it can't hurt anyone ever again. Fucking insane plan. I love it. This is one of my all-time favorite boss designs in any game. Even the way it moves, it jostles, is unsettling. Masuda knocked it out of the park on this one. Well done. And for the memory, we can see Vega herself waving Altair farewell as he leaves the dying celestial realm via a spaceship. The ring he finally got her twinkling in the light of the setting sun. If there's any ball that deserves to be remembered, it's Diamante. Hands down. Now, we still have one more. This ball doesn't appear at any point in the story. It only showed up as an optional fight for Fort Loon. This is Firstborn, a boss themed around baby toys that makes me think of those old I Spy books. This thing loves evading attacks, but once you hit it, it throws a temper tantrum before falling over and giving you an opening to do some real damage. Masuda states in the art book that this one may be his favorite that he designed. So what memory is attached to it? Well, Firstborn never appears in the story, and many people theorized for years that it was meant to represent the child Altair and Vega never had, or a miscarriage. But I had already guessed differently years ago, and I'm happy to share that my theory was correct. See, the balls were put into Bravely Default for the sequel as a teaser for what was yet to come. So I believed that Firstborn was meant to be a hint for something that was going to be revealed in a future game as well. Lo and behold, the ending of the mobile game Brilliant Lights reveals that the main character Claire was actually Vega and Altair's child that was somehow celestially transported to the world of that game before Vega's death. So that's what Firstborn is, a representation of Claire. I'll cover BDBL someday. These things take time. But that is everything to know about the balls and the Ds, and now I'd like to hear from you. Which of them is your favorite? Let me know in the comments down below. And once more, happy 10 years Bravely Second. Here's to hoping for a wrap-up to that cliffhanger someday. But even if we never get it, even if we never get a remaster, you still brought us these incredible monsters that will live on forever in my brain. I guess to close this out, I'll just share my own ball. I made my own ball for a fanfic I wrote. It's called Gallows. It's another spider, because I forgot about Urchin, but it has a bunch of corpses that it dangles by the neck from its web, and then drops them down to attack people. Like the gallows, you know, where they would hang people. I don't know. Pigeon Sponge did an incredible job with this commission. Go check them out. Please, Asano-san, Takahashi-san, if you're seeing this, please take my idea for Ball Gallows for Bravely Third.